Morning folks, it's Al from Barnfindmotorcycle. I hope you're having a good weekend. It's been very warm in the UK, so I was working yesterday indoors and was glad to get out for a quick drink yesterday evening. So just today I'm just finishing up a few bits on the GSXR1100. So over the past few days I've been trying to sort out some of the carb balancing issues on this bike. So the first thing I had to do was actually the vacuum pipe that's connected from the carburettor through to the fuel pipe was not quite fitting correctly. So I changed that around and actually clamped it up a bit tighter to the fuel pump. So that's a lot better now. But also I wanted to check over the lines that I directly connect to the carburetors in order to do the carb balancing using my carb tune. So the sort of rationale for leaving them on here and actually clipped up is that rather than having to put all of these sort of take-off screws every time I want to balance the carbs, it's a lot easier just to actually leave them in there, run them through the back of the bike, cable tie them, and actually just put an end bung in there. So when you want to actually do the carb balancing, you just connect this chap up and then you're away. You can actually get a good baseline and see what's going on. The other side of it is actually balancing the carbs themselves. So what is a bit difficult sometimes is that you've got no access to actually do that work on the bike with the tank in situ. So you've got two options. You can either take the tank off and actually put a remote fuel system on, which I've got up here. So as you can see hanging on the top, you can fill this chap up with some fuel. You've got a stopper and a filter built into that line, and then you can connect it up through the system. But this time around I didn't really want to do that. Part of the problem is that when you use a remote fuel tank like that, you never get the same pressure you would do when you're actually running the fuel tank on here. So you can experience sort of overloading the carburetors, so the floats aren't acting correctly and so on. So doing it with the tank on is always actually the best bet. So that creates another problem for you because all of the balancing screws are actually buried in here. So just a quick tip I can give you for doing this is actually you're supposed to balance most carburetors at around about 3,000 to 4,000 RPM. So what you can do, first thing is get a cable tie and lock it to your throttle control. So rather than winding the idle adjuster up and down, you can just do it on here and get it exactly right, because this will get bloody hot in here and you end up burning your hands and it'll be horrible. So clamp it on here and almost use that like a cruise control just to get the throttle position absolutely right for around 3,000 to 4,000 RPM. So the benefit of doing that as well is it will bring the adjustment screws further forward, so you can actually get a screwdriver on top of them rather than being buried away. Other good tip is to get one of these chaps, which is basically just a right angled screwdriver, but it gives you lots of different attachments. So I actually used this on the bike yesterday, and it was actually very useful because picking this particular attachment out allowed me to get into either sides of the full bank of carburetors. So this side here has its own adjustment set, so you can put it into there. The other side has got its own adjustment set, so you could fit it into here, and there's actually one in the middle as well. So the one in the middle is a bit fiddly, but if you actually put a flashlight in there or some sort of a torch which has got sort of a bending neck on it, you can actually get in there and do it. So I managed to finish that off sort of in the middle of the week yesterday afternoon. So that worked out really well. So that's all of the jobs done in terms of carb balance. So that's all back together. It's just going to be the fairings back on now. Give it a quick clean up, and that's pretty much job done, ready to go. So I'll just give her a quick start up. I can find the keys. So all seems to be running pretty good now. So she's only just warmed up, to be honest, so I won't go too bananas. But that's another job ticked off. So while I'm at it, I'm going to replace these foam grips as well. They've seen better days, so I managed to get a set off eBay for about 10 quid. So just cut these off with a Stanley knife and glue the new ones on. I find these quite helpful because these bikes are quite vibey, so you'll get quite a few vibrations through the bars, so foam grips take some of that hassle away, so definitely worth doing if you've got an old GSXR, but some people put up with it, but if you ride these a lot like I do, then it becomes a bit of an annoyance after a while, so foamies are always a good idea if you want to try and avoid some of the vibes. Okay, let me know what projects you're working on, good to hear from you. So I'm just going to button this up this morning and then head out for a coffee and some lunch, I think. So let me know in the comments what you're up to and what projects and what things you're interested in doing next on your bike. So have a good weekend.